And we're live. Greetings, everyone. It's your friendly ex-Muslim, Abdullah Samir, and I'm joined by two wonderful people here, Ben and Tina, of the Atheist Support Network. So we're going to talk about what that is, but just before we get into that, just want to say I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's being safe, and with all the craziness that's going on, Trump being impeached twice now. I mean, that's a little bit insane. So, yeah, it's a wild world out there. Those of you who know my channel issues, well, this is the new channel. So, here we are. I hope that you've subscribed by now. I'm still sending notifications, community posts to the old channel. But I hope that everyone has now signed up to this channel because this is the main new channel that's going to be used going forward, including for channel membership, super chats, and all that. So now that we have that out of the way, I'd like to welcome Tina and Ben and talk a little bit about what the Atheist Support Network is and what you guys do. So for those of you who know Hassan or will remember Hassan, Hassan was on my channel. He's a closeted ex-Muslim in Kenya, and he was having some problems with the community, and he got death. He had multiple death threats. He actually was hit with a big rock in his head, and like a lot of bad things happened to him. He was outed by a family member. There was nothing he can do to undo that, and he like seriously needed help. So it was the Atheist Support Network that actually went in there and helped him out, did the fundraiser, and we're still working on his case as we speak. So we're not going to talk about Hassan. Another individual I know who's associated with the Atheist Support Network is Zach Al-Rayas. Maybe we'll talk about him a bit. But yeah, so now that we have the introduction out of the way, who would like to go first? Tina or Ben? How's it going? Go ahead. Mike is yours.
Go ahead, Tina.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just kind of give a little background. So we're a program under Atheist Alliance International, AAI, and I'll probably just call it that throughout the thing if I mention that. And AAI has been helping asylum seekers for a long time. However, we stepped it up in about 2019. We brought on a director, and that director started some things, and we got a few volunteers, actually myself and Ben. And then that person resigned, and then I went in as director and then brought Ben in as co-director. And so we have been doing this. We're pretty new still as far as being this program. And we have really awesome volunteers. Again, AI is a nonprofit. We are nonprofit. We are all volunteers, even as directors. And we have probably 5 core volunteers that speak multiple languages, several of them who have been refugees themselves through the system. Several of them currently are safe, have asylum granted to them, and then some who are still seeking asylum. And one is Hassan, like you said, and he's joined us as a volunteer. So yeah, so that's kind of that in a nutshell. And I just also want to say, and just start out, and I may say this a few times throughout here too. So some of the things that we do is we help people with their visas and passports, and that involves money. We also can help them with travel plans and things like that, but that's rare. But all of this uses money. And whenever we come onto a show like this, it's really, our YouTube channel, it's really awesome because we are bringing awareness to people who are at risk. And there's a lot of people out there who are ex-Muslims who they are sincerely, their lives are in jeopardy. So we get a lot more people requiring and inquiring about help, but we're not getting the funding coming in. So if anybody's out there and if you can contribute, even $5, $5, whatever you can. I know it's hard with COVID and all of that, but that's a big part. Again, we're nonprofit and the money goes directly to helping people. So for example, we're helping one person right now, a young woman from, I'm just going to say Africa because we can't really go into where exactly, but we've been working with her for several months. We've already spent more than $5,000 helping her. And that's just having her in a safe place. So she's went from this one place where she was not safe at all to a place that is the intermediate area. It's a safer place. She's in a motel room, and we're taking care of her medical care and her food and everything. And she will be going to another place in Africa that is, there's not Muslims there. It's primarily a Christian place. So, and I know Christian, that also has their problems, but a little bit less extreme. And so she has a place where she's going and hopefully can start her life, anew.
So is it you're talking about a closeted ex-Muslim that's in trouble in an African country?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
This is a female.
And she's an apostate, or is she in the LGBT community? I mean, I don't whatever.
Apostate, yeah.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to ask you, why is it important to have a support network like this for atheists specifically?
Well, primarily for ex-Muslims, it seems that is the primary people that we do help. We do help some Christians too that are in places, but it's primarily ex-Muslims because in 13 countries, as you know, being an atheist, if you're found out, it's a death sentence. Or in blasphemy laws, just saying something a little against, or somebody can accuse you of saying something, and you can go to prison. So specifically atheists, because there's a gap. There's people that are helping the Muslims. There's people who are helping the Christians. There's people who are helping even LGBTQ, and even we do help them too. But the atheists are the ones that have that's the gap, and we're filling that gap.
Yeah. There's no atheist church, right? So a lot of the times, what happens is when you leave religion behind, you're left with no community anymore, and a lot of the times your own family will kick you out of your house. They'll cut off your financial support. We're not even talking about cases where there's like honor violence, or like honor killings, anything like that. We're just talking about just in general. And if you become a Christian, there's always that support coming from the church or whatever. But we don't have a church, so we definitely have a hole here that we need to fill, which is why I'm so happy to hear about the work that you're doing, and I want to support you however I can. It's really awesome that we have this support for atheists, because atheists kind of fall between the cracks in many ways, right? When it comes to like churches, you have this like otherworldly incentive, or even Muslims, to help people. It's like, yeah, I'm going to give you charity. In Islam, when you give charity, you get 5 times the reward in paradise. You'll get big breasted women or whatever, right? So there's some sort of incentive for you to donate. But when it comes to helping, when it comes to atheism, like we are sincerely doing this for other people, for the goodness of even if it feels good, or for whatever like sort of small worldly reason, we're still helping people for those people. At the end of the day, we don't get anything back in return, right? So I think that's something that's worth highlighting, and it's always going to be a bit of a challenge, right? But we need to make sure that these people are taken care of, right? I mean, that's what we humans are for. We need to help each other, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the things too with our volunteers, like Hassan. He's went from, actually he was very depressed for a while, and understandably, he's actually from Somalia. So I think I can say that, yeah, because that's been public. So but he was, and when he joined us, he really started brightening up and just feeling better, because he was being able to do something to help others. And that's huge. That's huge as a volunteer, and as a refugee, to know that you can help another person. And we have another volunteer who has come on, who is also, she's an asylum seeker and hasn't even been able to start that process, but she wants to volunteer. Her boyfriend ended up, his assets were all held by his family and cut off, and he ended up out on the street, and this is a couple that we're trying to help them. But she's finding just being able to help others is helping her. So that's a really cool thing about some of our volunteers, is that giving, without no strings attached.
And unfortunately, families taking all of one of our clients' assets is nothing new. We have both a Saudi who had to flee, who had over $200,000 taken from him by his family. He had a successful business going, and then after he left, his father was just able to show his ID and empty his accounts.
Wow, that's nuts. I was going to ask you, we should definitely talk about some of these typical cases because you guys have a lot of examples, and I think highlighting like what people are going through is going to be helpful. I also wanted to ask you about the process. So what is the typical intake process? How do you validate these claims? And then, where do you go from there? Like once you've confirmed that this is a valid case, what's the process in helping them? How do you prioritize? I mean, there's so many things that are involved in helping these people. So I'm just wondering like how your world is, if you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad that you asked that because I wanted to talk about that too. So thank you. Yeah, so you can actually go to AAI and go to ASN or Atheist Support Network on there as a tab, and it actually talks about our asylum process and the protocols. So if you want to click on that. So Michael and I both created that, and I've created the whole part about the process from the intake. So a person first contacts us either from the Facebook Atheist Alliance inbox on Facebook, or they contact from email. And one way or another, we can't help them until they start going to the ASN email. And from there, then I talk to them a little bit, and then I send them a form, and that form is our screening. There's kind of a checklist there, and it asks for more evidence. We need 2 referrals that they are an atheist at risk. And for some people, that's really hard to get that. So we will work with them on that. If they have social media accounts that show any attacks or anything like that, screenshots of that. If they're already in the refugee process and seeing that. So we also need 2 photo ID, and that needs to be legal ID. If they have anything, like I said, if they're already in the refugee process, we need information on that. So any documentation, if they've had any arrests that were related to being an atheist or blasphemy or even LGBTQ atheists, again, atheist is the emphasis there, then we need to have proof of that. So they need to give us all of this information. For some people, it's a little harder. Some people don't have a lot of information. And so we need to really talk to them more. So that's the next thing is once we have that information is we start talking to them. If they have a different language than English, then we connect them with a volunteer who can speak their language. And again, just checking their story. We need, again, check on that story. And then from there, then what are their needs? So some of them, it maybe they already have a plan and they just need help with that visa and maybe a passport and they just don't have the money for it. For other people, it might be they need to get out of their family's home. A lot of these people are multi-generational homes and they need to get out and they're having a hard time being able to do that. So we might help them with getting a room, maybe in another town or someplace close. And then as far as the next steps, it's trying to help them either to get into the refugee process with UNHCR. And that's another thing with AI. They do have UN consultative status. It doesn't always help though so much. But so getting them into the UNHCR refugee process. And that can be hard too, because a lot of countries where there's UNHCR, they're staffed by Muslims. So when you check that box of what's your religion and you say, if you're telling the truth, which, you need to, otherwise it's like, why do you need out? So it's a catch-22 thing. And then they get stuck in the system, which we do have people who are stuck. They've been stuck. They've went through all the process and everything through UNHCR. They're refugees and they've contacted other places and they're supposed to be going there, but you're not a Muslim, so we can't help you. And they're not saying that, but we're seeing that over and over. So that pattern, it looks pretty discriminative.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of sums up that. So Yeah,
Ben,
unless
you want
you,
to add anything?
Yeah. Yeah, and even if they aren't actually being discriminated against for being an ex-Muslim or non-Muslim, as the case may be, the refugee system itself ends up being so arbitrary. It's hard to tell. But I mean, I have a friend who used to work for the UNHCR Jordan, and he can't get his job back because they're now nepotistic, because the hiring is done by Jordanians, not by international staff. And he just said he's almost certain that there is, in fact, discrimination against non-Muslims and ex-Muslims there.
Yeah, that's quite a catch-22. Like I know a friend of mine, he was on the channel and he's in Sweden, and in his case, he's luckier. Like he left the country, he had a chance to leave, and then he applied for a political asylum in Sweden. And of course, the caseworker that he was assigned to is a Muslim woman. So it's quite a. I mean, it should just be a straight up conflict of interest. I mean, right away she should say, okay, there's a conflict of interest here. My religious beliefs conflict with this, like this situation here. So I'd rather not deal with someone in LGBT community, or I'd rather not deal with like an ex-Muslim, and it should be that straightforward. Okay, we'll assign you to someone else, because it can be pretty awkward saying, telling. I mean, if they do the job properly, it doesn't matter, because then it's just, yeah, I'm an ex-Muslim, but like she shouldn't care or he shouldn't care, because their personal religious beliefs shouldn't get in the way of them doing the job, right? Which is to process and deal with these cases. And I don't think that there's any sort of malice there. I mean, if there was, that would be even a worse problem, because if you had people that were going into these jobs, to intentionally sort of sabotage these cases, I mean, that would be really, really tough. I mean, that would just be awful. I don't know if that's what's happening, and I can't say that. But what do you think is the most important thing that atheists or anyone that's in trouble should do if they're in a country where either there's some like rumors going around that they've left the religion and they could be under threat? Like what do you advise people normally to do in a situation like that?
not advertise it. Just if you need to pretend, and I know it's really hard. I know it feels very isolating to not be yourself and to do that, but if that will maintain your safety, and then reaching out to us and letting us know what you're going through. But definitely, don't try to agitate it. Don't try to, hit the beehive, because you're just going to make it worse for yourself. If you are trying to, get that evidence or something, then you can, make a social media stuff with a different name, and you're just going to, do what you do there. That would be your activism there. But again, it's about protecting yourself. So you wouldn't want to use your actual name. You'd want to make something up. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be the biggest thing. I mean, goodness knows if somebody is noticed worse in Somalia, but it's definitely in other places, where if somebody wants so dedicated to everyone in every Somali being Muslim that they're willing to kill to keep it that way, they'll want to hear that everyone around them is a Muslim.
Do you think that people that are so obviously, I always give the same advice as well, that people that are in Muslim countries that actively persecute not just atheism, but like any sort of skepticism towards the religion, should keep it to themselves as much as possible. But what do you advise these people that, okay, let's say they don't want to be activists. Let's just say that they're just privately, like Hassan's a good example. He was no activist. He got caught up in this somehow. What do you advise people that, like, let's say I always hear from people that are young ex-Muslims that want to leave the country, and they want to know what's the best way to do it. So a lot of them are still living with their parents. We're not talking about, like, they're not even adults yet. Some of them are 16 or 14. What do you advise these people who are not in trouble in any ways? As far as I know, they're still in the closet, still safely in the closet. Like you said, don't kick the beehive's nest. That's a good way to put it. Like, don't go and make an issue of it. But like, what advice do you give these young people that want to leave the country because the country is, stifling and difficult, and it's impinging on the way they want to live their lives. What advice do you give those people?
Well, first step, save up money now.
The age thing, I just want to address that too. So it gets a little tricky. You mentioned, like 14, 16. When they're like 18, it's a little bit easier, but when they're really young, it's really hard. So because then they do need their parents and stuff. So unless they have a family member that they can trust, or they have a friend that they can go and live with, they're probably, unfortunately, that advice would be, reach out to people to get that support, because you're feeling really isolated, but you're just, for now, you're going to continue pretending to be, and for your own, like I said, sanity, and to help you so you don't feel so isolated, get in some groups and stuff, on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and be able to feel like you have a community, even if you're feeling isolated in your home. As far as people who are older, over 18, then if they have a friend that they can trust, if not, then we try to connect them with somebody that we might be able to find, or that we maybe already have, and try to see if they can help them. They might not be able to invite them to their home for their own risk, but just that networking. So networking is a really big deal, and helping people to have that safety. Finding contacts, because everywhere there are atheists everywhere. It's surprising. There's more and more that are closeted, but they're coming out they're coming out in ways that other people are finding them. So,
and funny thing, the crazier the government and society are in their religion, the more atheists there'll be. I hear Iran isn't even a Muslim majority country anymore.
Yeah, indeed. That's all good advice. Save money. I like the sound of that. Save your money. I always tell people, if you want to leave the country, the best way to do so is with your skills and your education. So young people, I always tell them, get a skill, get some valuable skills, so that it'll be easy for you to immigrate. It's much easier to immigrate as a skilled laborer, or a skilled worker, not necessarily laborer, than it is to immigrate as a refugee, because refugees are, kind of like exceptions, right? And every single time you want to be a refugee, you have to kind of prove your case. But if you just want to move because you're a successful, in my context, I say software developer, because that's what I do. I'm a software developer. Then there's lots of countries that want software developers. It's easy to get a visa to get. I mean, it's not easy, but I mean, the skills are in demand, and you can move. I mean, no one's going to stop you. You don't have to beg the country to let you in. You're just like, they're like, yeah, we want you. You're a doctor, anything like that. Now, of course, the challenge is, in some of those cases, if you're a woman, then your family might not want you to be studying. Your family might not let you, and they might prevent. And in that case, now we have a bigger case for getting help, because, well, your family is getting in the way. Now, thankfully, many Muslim countries still allow their daughters to study and go to university. I know a girl in Dubai, Emirates, Qatar, one of those countries, and she's in university. Of course, the crazy thing is they have, I forget what country it is, I think Qatar. There's an app that if she wants to leave the campus, it sends like a message to her dad saying, does she have permission to leave? She's kind of like trapped on the campus. I don't want to say trapped, but you know what I mean? Like, it's tightly controlled, right? It's like she can't, but at least she's getting education, right? So if you're in a situation where your family is financing your education, I mean, without me actually being involved in all of these cases like you guys are, would you say that's good advice?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And not only that, if you need to get out in an emergency later, which, yeah, if you have an atheist coworker and you talk around it, and a Muslim coworker figures out what you're saying and then starts blackmailing you, you may want to get out quickly. You can do that if you have $10,000 or $15,000 or however many $1,000 in the bank. If you come to us then and say, I need this money in the bank now so I can get out, first of all, we don't have that much. And second of all, if that was just dropped in your bank account later, your visa might get denied.
Oh, yeah?
And second of all, if that happens, go west, don't go east.
Can you explain that one
Therefore,
more time? What's the issue with the money appearing in your bank account? If
yeah,
you sent them money, $5,000 or whatever, what would happen?
yeah. Well, I don't know how close customs looks at that, but if somebody didn't have nearly enough for the entire time they had an account, and then all of a sudden someone from the US gives a bunch of money, it looks suspicious, like somebody may have lent the money so they'll qualify for the visa.
Oh, I see.
So if
Tina,
you
you
have
wanted
your
to add
own
to that? Sorry, go ahead. I didn't realize you weren't done. Sorry.
Oh yeah. If you have your own money, then it'll fly if you say, I want to go visit, I want to go see the Mona Lisa or whatever. It works a little better if it looks like you can afford to do that because you want to,
Right.
and not because someone else is giving you the money for it for whatever possible reason someone will give that much money so you can go travel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love
And
what you said about having those skills. So going to school and going to school, once you're a student, then there's a possibility of being able to transfer to another school, maybe to Canada or Germany or someplace, and on that student visa, and getting yourself safety there. And again, be seeking asylum rather than being a refugee, which I actually like the seeking asylum process better than the refugee part, because I think there's so many snags with the refugee part, like
Sorry,
what we earlier.
I'm not aware of the distinction. Can you explain that to me? I thought they were the same thing.
Yeah, well, I think there is a difference. So a refugee is a person who's registered with the UNHCR. And in order to be relocated, they have to be resettled. And it goes through the UNHCR process. Or seeking asylum is somebody, if you have money, like what we just talked about, and you can be a student, and let's say you get yourself to Germany or one of these other countries that are friendly to immigrants, go to school, or your job or whatever, and then from there, then you can go to immigration and say you would like to have asylum, and you go through the whole process. It's not easy. You still have to. You have a whole huge process. There's lawyers that probably need to be involved and everything else, but you're there because of work or student, if that's the thing. So yeah, so there is a difference.
Okay, I see. So you're saying like once you're already there, then you can say, "Hey, I want to apply for asylum." That's an easier process than applying as a UNHCR refugee, because to be certified as a refugee, you have to go through a whole bunch of stuff, basically, right?
Yeah. And as far as with the asylum part, you want to be sure that you have all your ducks in the row, that saying, when you do that. So before going and asking for asylum, you need to be sure that you can afford a lawyer. You need to be sure that you have support. So contact the different atheist organizations, not just ours, but contact them and ask if they can do a support letter. Get support letters from other people that maybe it might be maybe you're a student and you're going into engineering, see if there's somebody that's in the engineering field that can write you a support letter. So having all of this and your evidence, again, you need to show that you're persecuted. You can't just go over there and say, hey, this is all good. But yeah, you need to show that evidence that you would be persecuted if you were to return, or that you have been persecuted, because without that, immigration's just going to turn you away. So
can you tell me about that support letter a little bit more? What do you mean by support letter?
the support letters are telling the immigration that yes, this person is an atheist, and again, they would have to go through the screening process with any organization, and we would have all of this evidence. And so in our support letter, we would say, yes, we've have evidence that this person is indeed an atheist, that this person is indeed persecuted, and their life would be at risk if they were to be sent back or go back to the country they came from. So our support letter has all of that in there, and my support letters, when I write them, I include the different laws and things from the country that they're at, and show that if there's a death sentence, I show that in my letter, explaining that. So yeah, so they need to have all of this together.
And you were saying that for whatever reason, the majority of people that you help, did you say that? Did I understand it correctly? The majority of people are ex-Muslims?
Yeah. And the ones who aren't ex-Muslims are mostly in Muslim majority areas too.
Mhm.
So why do you think that is?
Well, the passages in the Bible commanding the death for apostates, so they're all in the Old Testament, so there's a bit of a disconnect. Like with the New, and I mean the New Testament was written when the Roman government would have something to say about people being executed for leaving Christianity or Islam by the other members of the religion. Whereas Muhammad
Sorry, go ahead.
had to do that while he had temporal power and he could basically do what he wanted.
Yes.
And just Enlightenment values haven't had as much time to spread within Muslim countries as they have within non-Muslim countries.
That's interesting. I mean, if you guys are not going to say it, I'm going to say it. Like, yeah, the Muslim world is a big mess right now, and it's quite repressive in terms of its values and its treatment of women, treatment of LGBT and other minorities, and so I guess that's the reason. I'm kind of surprised. Do you work with any organizations of, like, I know you mentioned a bunch of Saudis contact you. I know there's an underground support network for Saudi women who want to leave the country, and I know Rahaf Al Kunun, or Rahaf Mohammed, who came to Canada. She used this support network to sneak out of the country. Do you guys work with any other organizations like that, or do you just do your own independent thing?
We do try to connect with some other organizations. I don't know if I can say them, but there's a few that we do connect with. Sometimes we collaborate on their cases. And then, just reaching out. And again, it's writing letters, it's contacting and so forth. And picking names like you just now mentioned a name. So I would love to have, any connection. So again, we're trying to build our network. And again, reminding that we're still newer. So accessing that. And I wanted to go back to as far as what you were asking, as far as why in the Muslim countries. And I think, one of the things that I hear a lot of people saying is they feel like thought control. They feel like they're not even free to be who they are. So even their whole identity, I mean, when you're talking about a belief and you no longer believe that, our beliefs are so tied into who we are. And now you're needing to pretend, which is, what we've already told people they need to try to do for their safety. But you're trying to pretend to be that way and you don't believe it. That is so awful. I can't imagine that. That's like being in a prison, a prison in your own home. So that isolation and just not being able to be who you are and that feeling of thought control and all of that.
Yeah, and I mean, like in Tunisia, I hear 20% of the population is atheist. It's a very secular country, but just enough people are willing to attack anyone who leaves Islam that Tunisians contact us, and it's been cited as this example of the best place to be an atheist in the Middle East.
Can I? Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Someplace it's there's the government laws and stuff, but then in other places it's more the people. It's the mob mentality of we're going to attack you if you are not following our our social. This is what you're supposed to be, and you're outside of that, so they attack. And Indonesia is a good example of that. It's more the people rather than the government laws and stuff.
I was gonna I wanted to ask you about something else, something a little bit darker. What I wanted to ask you about was, what about cases that are not genuine? So what I mean by that is people that want to take advantage of the fact that they don't have any skills, like to immigrate, but they want to move just because they want to move. And there was an example of I forgot his name now, but anyways, you might know what I'm talking about. There was someone that was supported and then everyone found out this guy was like a bad guy and he was beating his wives and this and that, and then they dropped the support for him. But like, what about people that they're not necessarily bad people, but they're just like, they just want to take advantage and they want a free ride? How do you filter out people like that? People that are not really persecuted. They're like, yeah, I'm atheist, but like nobody cares. I'm atheist, but oh, I'm persecuted. I want to leave the country. I mean, I think we should discuss this openly, because that is probably in the back of people's mind. That's like an elephant in the room. Like, oh, why should I give my money to someone that wants a free lunch? Like I work hard and whatever, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, so through our screening process, and I'm a counselor, so big into rapport. And, you know, building that rapport, I think you start finding out if a person is genuine. Maybe not always, but we do turn people away. And, you know, if people are not willing to talk to us, we're definitely going to turn them away, because that's part of the process. And, you know, we have had one, oh, I'm so destitute, and oh, this is happening. And I'm thinking of one in particular. And we did try to set up a couple of times to talk with him. And then for whatever reason, he didn't show. And he's like, help me, I need out. And we can't. We're not going to, you know. And the other thing is, it comes back to, they have to do the work too. You know, we're not just going to come in and do everything for you. So, you know, if you are sincere, I think that's going to kind of weed out some people too, because you have to do the work. And, you know, we're here to help, and we're here to network. And you know, if there's money that we can give you for certain things, we will. If you're not doing the work, then we're going to be really suspicious of that.
What type of work do they have to do?
You know, they have to be part of their whole planning. They have to be part of, you know, if they need to go and get, let's say, a COVID test, if they get themselves there to get that COVID test, if they need to get a visa, you know, we're not going to just go get their visa for them. They need to go and do that. And if we're saying, well, here's some people that you can connect with that will provide you safety or tell you where to go, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that, you know, and if they're not taking these small steps, you know, that will keep them from being at risk and maintain their safety, and if they're not willing to do that, then, and all they're wanting is for you to just come and get them out, you know, that's a big sign to us that you're really not at risk, you know. Or yeah, you might be uncomfortable, but, and that's it. And we, you know, we have to make those decisions. And sometimes somebody can be maybe being sincere, but we can't help everybody. I guess that's the other thing too. You know, we can't help everyone. So you really do need to have risks going on. Like the young woman that we have, that we're helping in Africa, she has had multiple rapes. She has had forced marriage. She's had genital mutilation. Family has beaten her. I mean, this is a person with real things happening. You know, she's not just saying, help me because, you know, oh, I'm so persecuted and there's nothing happening. I mean, she really had things happening. So, yeah. Does that answer the question, or is there anything else you can add, Ben?
Yeah, and actually, the only cases I got that seemed false were actually right in the beginning when we started, and they revealed themselves really quickly. Just said, I want to live a better life, and then just said, do you know what the refugee process is like? You're not going to be allowed to work for a long time. It'll be a huge sink of money, and you'll be living in unpleasant situations there too. Mm-hmm. And that guy instantly disappeared.
Yeah. I handle through the ASN email, and so I probably get more of those. And you know, there's a lot of them. I'll just say, you know, I'm sorry. It sounds like you're having a really tough time, but you know, we're not able to help you now unless you can do these things, or you can show this persecution or whatever. And if you don't have it,
maybe that's what I was in the beginning. That was referred to me from the email.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna, for those of you who are just joining now, I am speaking with Ben and Tina of the Atheist Support Network. Atheist Support Network is the network that helped Hassan from Kenya to get out of his difficult situation. They've worked with Zach Al-Rayes as well, who is a Saudi refugee in Germany. And I would love to support them however I can. I think that we do need to help such organizations. If you have a bit of money, you can spare some change, and or even donate monthly. It'd be great. I mean, it would be most appreciated. Do this little bit of change in the world however we can. Atheist organizations do not get the same type of funding that Christian organizations or Muslim organizations are going to get. So if you do want to live in a better world, this is the way to do it. We need to all put in a little bit of effort, right? A little bit of hard work and labor to make a change, right? And I will definitely donate as well on my own after the show is done. And I wanted to also say that regarding people that take advantage of this whole process, what I wanted to say from my perspective is it might end up being the case that out of 10 people you helped, one of them or two of them were not genuine. And you do whatever you can to filter those people out, as some of them will just drop out by themselves along the way. Like you said, some of them you can instantly tell that there's just like they're not really in trouble. They just want to they just want to free lunch or whatever. But even if, let's say, one of them gets through, still 90% of the money that someone donates is going to be used for a good cause. A young lady in Saudi that's in trouble, that is going to be forced into a marriage, or a young man that's been outed like Hassan by his family members and has no choice but to leave the country or die. I mean, 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, I think would be legitimate. And maybe there's going to be one that, sneaks through that's taking advantage. And at the end of the day, what else can we do, right? Like, there's some trust needed at some level, and we do whatever we can to make sure that to filter the cases and to make sure that no one's taking advantage. But like, none of us really know for sure, so we're all doing the best we can, right? And that's all we can really do is have a good process. I mean, there's a process there, and as long as the process is followed and all the steps are taken, you ask for a support letter, character references, and whatever the process is. I'm not familiar. You've talked about it a little bit, and at the end of it, if there's still some people that take advantage, I mean, we did the best we could. And the other 9 people that are legitimate, the young or old young men and women that actually did get the help, they shouldn't be cut off from getting help because of that one person that's taking advantage, because that's not fair either, that we just throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, I appreciate so much that you said that. I really do. Thank you so much, because that's true. I also wanted to point out that we do have a transparency page if you go to our AAI website. I don't know exactly where it is in the tab at the moment, but there, I think it's in the donations or something. It does show our transparency, so cases that we've worked on. And if we do like a GoFundMe or something, this one that we have is a little bit different, but our ones that are for specific will show where that money went to and what they spent it on or what their intentions were. So there is a transparency page, and we try to keep that up regularly, like every month, update it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Just as a little side note, I this is a little bit off topic, but there's a little bit of a discussion going on here regarding some of these countries and the religious dictators that were under them. I just want to kind of address this quickly. One thing that people don't necessarily realize is that, and Steven Pinker talked about this in his book, Not Enlightenment, the Better Angels of Our Nature. He said that under stable democracies and stable dictatorships, you have the most peace. So it doesn't mean necessarily that Gaddafi was a good leader or something because he kept the peace. Well, that's what happens under Saddam and Gaddafi and all of these dictators. They're able to keep the peace because they're dictators. So when you get rid of them, then you have instability, you have ISIS, you have all of this chaos that's happening now in Iraq and Syria, because there's no dictator there anymore. But that doesn't necessarily mean any of us would want to live under a dictator, because under a dictator, there's no freedom of thought, freedom of expression. If you're one of the unlucky ones, that is, for example, under Bashar Assad, you're not Shia, let's say you're Sunni, well, you're basically screwed, because the 10%, the Alawi, will be the ruling class, and you'll be the 90% Sunni. So yes, it'll be stable, but it won't necessarily be a good life, because there's no democracy, there's no justice, there's no secularism, there's no freedom of expression. The first thing you say against Putin, even if you're a multimillionaire, your whole institutional wealth is taken away. So I just wanted to sorry for the distraction there, but I just wanted to quickly address that as a side note, because people are talking about dictators in the chat. So back to the topic at hand, unless you guys want to add anything to that.
No, you covered it pretty well.
Awesome. So okay, so what can people do to help you guys other than sending in money? Are you looking for more volunteers as well? Awareness,
Sure.
like what? Tell me what people can do to help. Like for sure, there's money. They can donate money because you always need money. There's never going to be enough money considering how many cases are going on. And by the way, before you guys respond, just a shout out to Zach Al Reyes. Greetings, Tina, Ben, and Abdullah. Thanks for bringing attention to Hassan's case and to your case, my friend. I hope you're well and hope to have you on the channel again soon for a follow up. Just to, oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Yeah, so you guys can go ahead and respond. I just wanted to say hi to Zach.
Yeah. So Zach's a volunteer too. So I think he's still volunteering with us, isn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
he's been busy lately, but so have we.
Busy, yeah. So volunteering for us would be great. So what that can be, it can be a variety of things. If you're an attorney, that would be really cool. If you're an immigration attorney in some of these other, in these Muslim countries, that would be great to have you're volunteering. But people who are multilingual, that's great. The thing is being a volunteer is a commitment. It's not paid. Sometimes people think, oh, I can volunteer and get paid. No, it's not paid. So it's being committed. It's how I kind of set things up is I'm basically the case manager in intake, and then I also have cases that I'm working on. But when cases come in, let's say somebody is from Bangladesh and they prefer to speak Urdu, I will set them up with our Bangladeshi. Am I even saying it right? Yeah, sorry, I'm talking so fast. I'll set them up with our volunteer, and so they'll feel more comfortable talking to him, and he has expertise in a lot of things. And so bringing your skills, whatever those are, if you have journalism skills, if you have law skills, if you have education skills, if you have any of your skills, you bring those, and you have the interest to be able to help as a volunteer helping others. It might be translating. It might be emotional support. That's a huge thing, huge. And we do that with a lot of our people. A lot of our people are not, we're not paying for anything. We're just giving them emotional support and just letting them know we're here for them. We're here. We're listening to their stories. I can't be a counselor in this role, but I do help them if they're feeling depressed. I'll talk to them, and so that's the other thing. So if you have those skills, just coming in and offering emotional support, but it is a commitment, and that's something that I ask of all of our volunteers. If you're going to volunteer, be sure that you really want to do it. Don't come in and think you're going to do it and be there for 2 weeks and then out, or a month or so. It is a commitment. And I try to not overload our volunteers, so I usually have them just working on a few cases each rather than a huge load. And it can be an emotional experience too. So for some people, it might bring up stuff. So
yeah, and I mean, I am not a counselor by any means, but providing emotional support to Hassan and another volunteer has been very rewarding for me. But I can only do it for so many people. I can't do that for 20 people.
Right.
I was in a very weird state when I started helping out Hassan and the other guy, because I was having a bit of an overload in my life, but it's just not possible to do that for 10 people. And another volunteer type that's helpful, we have a couple volunteers who already work with refugees in other countries, and can help our people get through the system there. If people can specifically do that and get in touch with us, that would be great. I found one of them. He is Kurdish, and I met him just when I made a comment about Kurds and how great they're doing on Facebook. If anybody else is already interested in helping our refugees in that way, that would be excellent.
Yeah. So you can contact go through our ASN, which is asn@atheistalliance.org. And just say, yeah, I'm wanting to volunteer. And we do have an application process. That's the other way they can do it, is they can go to the AAI website, and there's a tab there that you can click for volunteering and a form to fill out. It might be a little while though before I find out and see that form, because it actually goes to our vice president, and then when he sees that it's an ASN type, then he'll send to me. So just contacting me directly is a good way to do it too.
Yeah, I can understand what you mean about volunteers, because I've had some challenges as well getting help with my channel. And what I found is, I mean, even working in my 9-to-5 job, that you don't want to hire someone and then fire them, because the amount of time it takes to set them up, to train them, to get them to help, and then if they leave, all of that's lost, because then you have to do the same thing all over again. So you definitely want people that are committed and willing to, even if they're just not doing whatever the amount of block of time that they're willing to help out with. And that's another reason why money is helpful, because I'll just give a story of one. There was a video, a blasphemy video. There was a man who killed or stabbed I think two people in France, a Pakistani man. And there was a video interview of his father in Pakistan, and I needed this translated for my channel. So I had people offering to help. One guy offered to help me, and he's like, "I'm Pakistani, I can do it for you for free." I'm like, "Cool, okay, do it." And then the amount of time I took to help him to set up the software, to do it, and then at the end of it, it was such a poor quality job that I was like, "You should have just given me $10." I took the $10 of my own, and I hired someone on freelancer.com who did an amazing job translating the whole video, someone that knows how to do it. And it was just like, this guy's a real estate agent in New York, was trying to be helpful, and ended up like wasting my time, his time. And like, it would have been easier for him just give me $10. So a lot of the time, I think having money is what allows you to actually hire someone that's dedicated and professional, and they have a particular job, and they're able to do it, and you don't have to worry about them flaking. You don't have to worry about paying them. I mean, like they're gonna get recompensed in payment, so they'll just do it. There's something you hold them to, which is the promise of payment. So they're gonna do a good job because they want to keep getting paid. And that's another reason why I'm like, after when I started the channel 5 years ago in 2015, actually 6 years ago now almost, I didn't ask for any money, but at some point I realized if I want to grow it, I'm going to have to hire people to help me with the editing of the videos and the scripts, and volunteers are not reliable, I find, right, in cases like this. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm making some money, then I can take some of that money and I can hire people, and I can do a bigger job and a better job. So, and maybe this is a chance for me just to plug the channel. So those of you who are joining and a fan of my content and like the content, please do consider joining. The link is below. Just click on join and you'll become a YouTube member. I had around 47 members and I lost them all when YouTube demonetized me permanently. So that was a little bit of a tragedy. If I've reset up the channel, a new channel now. As you all know, this is a new channel, and I'm trying to get back to 50,000 subscribers. I'm at 57,000 subscribers on the old channel, and so I have a ways to go. Typically, a stream like this would have over 100 people. Right now, we have about 39. So it's a bit of a uphill battle for me to grow back to where I was before, but I'll get there. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. Enough about me.
Well, speaking of being demonetized,
yeah,
I've heard rumors that Muslim Brotherhood supporters have infiltrated YouTube and Facebook and are using their positions to specifically demonetize and otherwise censor ex-Muslims. Do you think that might be true?
There would be no way for me to really speculate on that, but even regardless of that, whether or not that's true, we know that YouTube is a very left-leaning corporate entity. I mean, all the tech companies are. I mean, I work in tech. I know us atheists tend to be very liberal. I mean, and normally it's a good thing. I mean, you know what I mean? But the problem is you kind of find yourself in a unique space now, being an atheist that's working against, Islamic theology and Islamism. Like that you find that there's a lot of people on the right that actually support us because they understand, they have their perspective, but at the same time, as a lefty, it's more difficult for lefties to understand the danger of, like basically what YouTube is doing. Like they are definitely censoring atheists and ex-Muslims, and I don't think it's malicious, but it's even LGBT community. There's a documentary made by a channel called Nerd City, where they talked about how LGBT content is demonetized, and it's like it's a big problem because LGBT content, we need LGBT content. So on one hand, you have YouTube's trust and safety team that's very liberal, and they want to support such things, but at the same time, there's this conflict of interest with the advertising, and advertisers don't want controversial content. So anything that's considered at all hateful, even if it's pro LGBT, they don't know, right? Like the bot can't tell. It's just like, oh yeah, this is LGBT. We should probably not allow this content. Or if it's anything to do with transitioning, gay rights, it's tough. It's tough for the bots to figure it out. So what they do is they just blanket, demonetize, and then you have to now manually appeal. Like, I'm pretty sure if I turned on ads on this video, it would be automatically demonetized. I'd have to appeal it, and usually the appeal goes through. So I don't think that YouTube is coming from a bad place in what they're doing. It's just that, there's a history there, right, that a lot of people are not aware of, that YouTube had very liberal thanks for the super chat. I have some money from a lefty. Summertime 567 time. YouTube is between a rock and a hard place, because what happened is people are not aware of this. It was very easy to be monetized in the past, and a lot of these channels, for example, PewDiePie, Jake Paul and Logan Paul, these guys that do the stunts and they do these crazy things, and then they actually said some questionable stuff, like anti-Semitic. PewDiePie said something anti-Semitic. He did something really dumb. I don't even know if I should mention it, but he basically hired some guy in Africa to hold up a flag, something about Jews, okay? And it was very distasteful and anti-Semitic. And so because of this, a lot of advertisers walked off the platform. They left the platform, and they're like, we're not going to advertise with you because of this. So YouTube had to clamp down, and they're like, so then what ended up happening was atheists and anyone that's sort of in the middle there, where you're trying to carve out a space by challenging Islam. Well, Islam is a protected category. Muslims are a protected category under YouTube's trust and safety team, because we don't want white supremacists bashing Muslims. I mean, we don't. I don't. I'm against that. I'm against white supremacy. I'm against any sort of bigotry against Jews, anti-Semitism, all of that. But the problem is, I fall into that according to the algorithms. They think that, oh, he's bashing Muslims, kick him off, or like demonetize him at least, right? So it's a very tough space to be in,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I've seen that too. I have a few people that I've talked to who are, I wouldn't even say particularly left wing. I mean, they are, but they have the mentality of, no Islamophobia, and yet that then opens up a whole other door if you're going to do that, because then you're again the atheist, and you're not being able to intervene there.
Yeah, I usually just point out how if you look at it. What happens to atheists of Muslim backgrounds almost does constitute a genocide against atheists. And yeah, the people who they're trying to silence are not white. It's not the white people there who are being killed by this genocide against atheists.
Yeah, Zach.
Zach says there's white people that work at YouTube are afraid to question Islam and be called Islamophobes. Yeah, there's definitely sort of a political correctness here. That's the problem. It's political correctness, right? Like, they don't want to say something that'll make them look bad. And of course, advertisers at the end of the day, the advertisers are the gods of YouTube, not advertisers, the people paying YouTube to advertise. So the companies, so YouTube and Google is an advertising company. People have to realize that their gods are people that are advertising with them. So they're going to do whatever it takes. And unfortunately, there's another problem here, which is all type of content, atheist content, content challenging dogma and stuff like that. It's not totally in YouTube's big master plan. They want fun, like even TikTok's another example of, they want happy content for kids. They want it to be like, Disney, like Disney Plus. YouTube wants to be like basically Disney Plus. They don't want, I'm sure they want political content. I'm sure they want all of that. But there's again a bit of conflict of interest between their goals to have all of this content and what the advertisers are telling them. Right. So I think that's also a major sort of conflict of interest, but that at the end of the day, we get the short end of the stick, because if you don't have 1 million subscribers, I've noticed even if you have 100,000, YouTube doesn't care. If you have 1 million, okay, now we're talking. Maybe they'll actually listen to you, but less than 1 million, they don't care. They're like, yeah, we have, but most of the income is coming from the Disney like channels,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to address one more comment that's kind of silly. Friendly ex-Muslim, you need LGBT content, are you gay? So Muslims seem to think that this is an insult, that you're gay. I don't know if that's where it's coming from here, but it's not an insult. Like, I don't care if you think I'm gay. I'm not gay, but I love gay people. I have many gay friends, and I support the right to be gay. And it's like saying, oh, you're not black, why do you support black rights? I mean, that's so stupid, childish, and infantile. Do I have to be Jewish to support Jewish people? Do I have to be black to support black people? Like these are moral principles that we stand by, us humanists, and all of us here on this show are humanists. We care about human beings, our fellow human beings. We don't care. Like, I was on a show yesterday with Amin Nawabi, Susanna, and Haris Sultan. I mean, I was in the comments discussing with them, and they said, even if you're Muslim, like even if you're Ali Dawa that laughs about ex-Muslims, being killed and says we're proud of that, if you get in trouble with some country and you're oppressed and you're in jail, and you shouldn't be in jail because they arrested you for whatever fake charge or whatever, we'll support even you. Like, we don't care. We are there to support no matter who you are, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. That's not a problem, right? Yes, we do think there's some special extra support needed for atheists because they're in a unique situation of not having a church or a mosque to help them, and the families abandon them and all that. But we stand for human rights. No matter who you are, we will basically defend your right to be you and to not be discriminated, to not be oppressed, to not be, dehumanized in any way. And would you guys feel free to add to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I just agree with everything that you said. I don't have a lot more to add to that because you said it so well. So yeah, see, they're even saying, well said. It was. And I agree. And we've gotten the whole political ideology, and the political identity politics is awful. It's awful. And it's just, here in the US is just divided us so bad. It's just ridiculous. But it's all about being human and taking care of fellow humans. And and now we're, well, you're an Islamophobe if you're doing this or saying this, or you're oh, you must be racist if you're Black Lives Matter supporter, you're racist against white. No, what is all of this? And yeah, it's just really, it's weird times right now, really weird times, and I think everybody just needs to just kind of cool down and come to center and see what things are in reality, and we've got so many concepts and stuff going on in our heads and so much judgment and stuff, and just come down to caring for your fellow human being and the people who are at risk. And we do have these huge ideologies, Muslim and Christian and all of that, and if we're all atheists, we need to all be working together to help the people who are suffering from those ideologies, who are trying to control them. So we need to work together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, Ben.
Oh yeah, sorry. One
ahead,
more thing about ways volunteers can help us that I just remembered. Another big thing people could do that could quite literally save a life, if you're Canadian, Canada has a private sponsorship program for UN registered refugees. 5 Canadian citizens who live in more or less the same area. You can't have one person in Vancouver and another in Toronto. form a group of 5, but 5 people can get together and sponsor a refugee. We'll help raise the money to do it. You need to have a certain amount of money in the bank, but if someone could sponsor Hassan, that would be really amazing right now. We also have 2 other single refugees and 2 families we're hoping to find sponsors for. 2 families of 3. One of them has been friends with me for 3 years, and I'm putting aside a portion of the money I earn through dog walking to help him move to a country where he can have a dog and a boyfriend. Tina, Zach, and I did an interview with him on Zach's channel. And if you're interested in doing that, there's also an organization called Northern Lights Canada that helps people set up these interviews. Someone from there was also on that interview, which is on Zach's channel. So yeah, if any Canadians would be willing to do that, that would be really amazing.
And why Ben is mentioning Canada is because they do that's their way of working through the refugee and asylum process. There's other ways, but the sponsorship thing, that's their golden thing that they do. So a little different than other countries. And I think each sponsor needs to have like $10,000. Is that right?
No, we just need $10,000 for the refugee for their living expenses and a few legal expenses.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
it does not require $50,000 total.
So what I was going to ask you actually was exactly that. I was about to ask you about that team of 5 thing that you mentioned to me. So the way the program works is you need 5 people that live in the same area to choose to sponsor one refugee. Is that right?
Yes.
And they need $10,000 between them?
Yes. Doesn't need to be between them. It needs to be coming from somewhere other than the refugee themselves.
Okay.
So if I want, I as an American could donate the money. That's not a problem.
Oh yeah. Okay. I see.
One of the refugees we're trying to find sponsors for currently has some Australians raising money for him on the Australian version of GoFundMe.
Okay. So that's what I was gonna say. So if somebody says, "Yeah, I want to sponsor," then they can do like a fundraiser on behalf of the person they're wanting to sponsor, and then they get that funds. Right? Is that how it works, Ben?
Yes.
So they don't have to just be somebody who just says, "Yeah, I have $10,000, I can do this," but they can be somebody who says, "Yeah," or maybe a group of people, do a fundraiser, so that this one person can do that. Am I going right with that? So people don't feel like it's all, one heavy thing on them, and that they need to get it just from themselves. But there's other ways to be able to get that funding, so they can be a sponsor.
All right. So that's good to know. So I think wouldn't that would probably be in cases where you know that person, would it be, or you don't need to know them at all?
Well, hopefully you'll get to know them before you sponsor them. But with the sponsors, ideally they know each other beforehand, but it's not required. And I mean, the idea is that the sponsors are financially responsible for the first year, and then need to provide social support for 2 years. So I mean, you'll get to know each other over those 2 years.
So it's not just the $10,000. There's some sort of other support you have to provide. So this is like actually sponsoring a refugee, basically.
Yes, and like social support. A little harder right now in the age of COVID, but go to the zoo together, go to a park together, go swimming. The guy from Northern Lights is constantly posting photos of trips to the beach with some of the refugees he's sponsored.
Oh, nice.
And he's just someone who works for the University of Toronto. He's not in some unique position. He actually said it's some of the closest relationships he had. He doesn't have any kids, so he can't quite compare it to having a child. But he said it's his. It's
really the wedding, right? It's a wedding process.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad used to because we were immigrants at one point. He used to help new immigrants to Canada. I forget whether it was some program or something. It was like, you're teamed up with somebody and you like help them to get a bank account, and you become friends with them and you help them to get a job, or at least tell them about help him with the resume or whatever. But it was quite a rewarding process, and he made some really good friends through this thing. So it can be definitely rewarding. It's not just about giving. You also get something back. And like you said, if you can't do the money part, then there's also other people can get the money, and you can do that part that you're able to do, which is helping out in other ways, because $10,000 is a lot of money, and I think it would be a bit of a challenge nowadays to get that. But I guess that's what you need to survive, really, as a newcomer to Canada for at least 6 months or so, right?
Yeah.
Here, I think that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So back to what you guys do. I want to share the fundraiser as well. Can you tell me about this particular fundraiser? Why you're having it now?
Okay. So this fundraiser, we started it just like last month or so. Anyways, and it was during the Christmas time, so I think that people, were buying their gifts and all of that, and so many other fundraisers that were going on. But this is our big fundraiser that is the general, so that we're not needing to do a single fundraiser for every person that comes through, because that gets really hard to do, and GoFundMe doesn't allow you to do so many, one person can only do one fundraiser at a time. So this is the way to be able to get this funds, and with if we can get up to 20K, that would be awesome. That would take care of us probably for the year at least. So the other alternative is doing these little funds like what we're doing, the fundraisers for the Somali people that we're doing. So this one, this goes to the general pool of financial that we have that we can use for let's say like the young person in Africa that I mentioned, or we have some people in Egypt, we have people in Turkey. So instead of trying to go and raise a fundraiser for every single one of these people, we have this income. It's our income. So because we are a nonprofit. So I don't know if I said that very well. I have a tendency. I had a 5-day intensive this week of from 9 until 7:30 of learning some psychotherapy stuff in my training, and so I'm a little today. So sorry.
No, you said it well. So that makes a lot of sense. So this is kind of like the general fund to continue helping people, and so that you don't have to make, little mini fundraisers every, oh, look, we have someone else, we need a fundraiser again, we need to do another fundraiser. So this is just kind of a general one-time fundraiser. When does GoFundMe release the funds regularly, or do you have to wait till the whole thing is over?
My understanding is we can actually be using it now. So I certainly hope so, because this one person that we have in Africa that she's been my big case. I think we're already dipping into that. I think that what we have there, what the amount is, I think we've already used that for her. So,
yeah, awesome. So I definitely am encouraging everyone watching and everyone that sees this conversation after to please consider supporting the Atheist Support Network. I think the money will go into good hands and will be used well. As I already know a couple of people that are involved in Atheist Support Network, it was wonderful to meet you guys. And thank you for offering to come and share your stories with me and to do this. I know that, you didn't really have time to prepare and all that, but you know what? I hope that people do donate. I mean, I will, like I said, I'll be donating as well myself. And let's all help each other to help these people that are falling between the cracks in whatever way they are. And we want to make sure that, the worst cases are dealt with. We can't help everybody, like you said, but at least if some cases can be helped, then that would be amazing. And I don't probably even need to say this, but I'm not getting paid to say any of this. I mean, this is a goodwill charity cause. There's no payment coming here. All of us I'm not associated with the Atheist Alliance, but like I said, I do trust you guys, and I'm happy to promote your work however I can, because as you've already mentioned, most of your clients are ex-Muslims, and so there's definitely that niche that needs to be filled. And we'll stay in touch. And would you guys like to? I'll let each of you add, your final comments, and we'll end it at that.
I just want to Oh, sorry, Ben. I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity for us to be bringing in the awareness of what we do, and also the opportunity. I think it's kind of hard to be sitting there saying, okay, we're going to ask for money, and I really appreciate that you let us do that. And I've really enjoyed the discussion and other things that you brought into this discussion. And yeah, so thank you so much.
You're most welcome. And Ben, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hopefully, if we start actively trying to help the atheist refugees who are falling through the cracks, we'll be able to make up for the discrimination a lot of them are facing. Especially if anyone will sponsor, that would be the big way to make up for it. And yeah, I mean, I think at this point, Saudi Arabia considering atheism to be a terrorism offense, and 13 countries having apostasy laws, plus all the countries where terrorists, where jihadis may kill someone or mobs may kill someone. It is a genocide against us, and we should act as though there is a genocide against atheists and members of smaller religions that usually go unnoticed, like the Yazidis and various other small religions in Kurdistan.
I have one more thing I meant to add earlier too. So AAI, Atheist Alliance International, has a petition out, and I think they're still taking signatures for it. It's the right to be secular. And like I said earlier, that we do have UN consultative status. And so our president is gathering signatures for that. And then that will be going to the UN. And the whole idea is to get, they do have all of that for the different religions, all of my words are gone, but, protecting of the different religions, but nothing specifically for atheists. So this is specific for secular and the right to be secular. So, if we could have that go through, and if they could change those, within the UN and that law, there's a huge plus. So again, just go to the AAI website, and there should be, you might have to scroll through, because again, maybe we can put that link, I can get that for you and you can put that in, but just get your signature on there and that'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. We want to work with the governments to try to make political change as well, and that's an important part of activism, is the advocacy work. And because at the end of the day, once those laws change, that'll actually help thousands and thousands of lives. So definitely we should do that. And I posted the link there for everyone who would like to fill that. So where is it? You said it's on the side?
So it's on the AAI website, the Atheist Alliance International, the main website. And it might be right on the front page. I don't know. I'd have to look.
And it's like something you need to fill out, you said?
Yeah, you just, they're getting signatures.
Oh, a petition, right?
Yeah, petition, yeah. So let's see. Yeah, okay, yeah, you just scroll on down here, go to the main page, and then scroll on. It's like the third one down. And fighting for atheist rights, the right to be secular. And you just click on that link.
Oh, I found it. Okay.
Yeah, and there you go. Yeah, and then sign the petition right there. It says that. Yep.
Okay. All right. So everyone has that as well. So, and on that, I will end it. It's been almost an hour and a half. So, we were wondering whether it'll go on for that long, and it actually did. And I'm not surprised, actually, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to, freeing atheists, helping atheists, and people that need to get out and can start planning. We talked about improving your life, studying, doing things that'll make your case easier, so that if you ever have to, saving money. Ben mentioned save your money, which is actually a very good idea as well, because if ever you have to leave in an emergency, you want to be prepared, right? And it's good to have a little bit of savings anyways for disasters.
Oh yeah, and put it into PayPal as you're on the way out, so that way it can't be capriciously pulled from you. If it's in PayPal, even if you end up in a country you can't get it, let me know. You can transfer the money. You can transfer your PayPal balance to me, and I can Western Union your money or something.
Yeah. We So PayPal is actually a better, safer source than local bank accounts, is it?
When you're out of the country, yes. I don't think your PayPal balance counts when you're trying to get an entry tourist visa, though.
Oh yeah. So okay, so we'll end it at that. And if anyone needs more particular details about immigrating, about any of that stuff, I will definitely point them to your website. And keep up the good work. And thank you for doing what you do, because it is definitely, let's just say, not as glamorous as coming on YouTube and saying, "Hey, I'm Abdullah Samir, I'm a friendly atheist, and today we're going to talk about this." I mean, it's behind the scenes. It's work that needs to be done, but it's not as in the spotlight, and it's not as exciting as going on YouTube or whatever. But it's so important. It's so important, and that's why I want to support you guys however I can. And I'm glad you came on the show. And again, thank you so much. And thank you for making the world a better place. Thank you for helping atheists who are oppressed, and for helping ex-Muslims. We ex-Muslims are in some of the toughest situations, especially Somali ex-Muslims, especially Pakistani ex-Muslims. It's pretty much a death sentence being an open ex-Muslim. So it's well needed and appreciated. So thank you both. And to everyone else, thank you for joining. I will be on I think a channel called Atheist Jesus tonight. We're going to be talking about epistemology and Islamic apologetics and stuff like that. And the next live stream will be tomorrow on the same channel. I'm interviewing an Egyptian ex-Muslim, and he's not going to be showing his face. As you know, it's not always safe to show your face, so he's just going to be talking audio, but it should be a fun conversation. So I will see everyone tomorrow on the channel, and thank you guys again. Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.